Well, good morning, everybody. I know that there's some nice conversations going, and one of the purposes for today, of course, is for all of you to meet each other and talk and network and conduct business and doing other things. But we would like to start the program. My name is Jack McCoskey here at the Graduate School. I'm the Director for New Program Development and Contract Administration. And on behalf of Dr. Ice and the others from the Graduate School, we welcome you and thank you for joining us today in this session. We think we have a good program. This is the second in a series of what we expect to be a large number of series that will bring training officers together to talk about key and emerging issues. I know the environment is particularly challenging out there, and in terms of input that has come in from all of you on elements or topics that you would like to discuss, the challenges of working and doing training and dealing with HR issues. Highly rated or for a need, and we're very lucky, I think, to have some good speakers for you today. But before we get into the agenda and before we get to some of the housekeeping issues, and then, more importantly, the program, we would like to show, if you don't mind, a 1-minute video that speaks to the graduate school, who we are, what we do. And this is something that many of your students who come to our classrooms will see at the beginning of each of the classes that we've done here. So it'll give you a little bit of a flavor of what we're doing. So, Jack?
This is Graduate School USA. For 90 years, we've been the leading provider of professional development and training courses for federal employees to advance career goals and support agency missions.
The grad school helped me in my career because it gave me the opportunity to advance to a position in the leadership of the FAA, working directly for the administrator. And without that experience in the grad school program, I might not have had that door open.
We're continually updating and adding new courses, programs, and teaching modes that directly affect the productivity and policies of hundreds of federal departments. In addition to an extensive curriculum, Graduate School USA is home to the prestigious Government Audit Training Institute, the Center for Leadership and Management, the International Institute, and the Center for Health Sciences. Graduate School USA instructors are recognized experts in government training and professional education, instructors who apply their real-world experiences and insights.
Really is a launching pad for students who want to pursue a well-rounded career.
Discover how our tradition of education excellence and leadership, combined with our unparalleled knowledge of the federal government, is making a difference for government agencies and the private sector. This is Graduate School USA. For 90 years, we've been the leading provider of professional development and training courses for federal employees to advance career goals and support agency missions.
The grad school helped me in my career because it gave me the opportunity to advance to
Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you. I'll make one plug. Part of my portfolio here at the Graduate School is the International Institute. And you may see some friends of ours from China here while you're walking the road. But we have a number of folks from the National Audit Office who are engaged with some audit training. And just a little sense of the global reach that the Graduate School has. So that's my only pitch, and thank you for listening to that. Just in terms of a welcome, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jerry Ice, who's the CEO and President. Dr. Ice?
Thanks, Jack. Well, welcome, and I hope you have a good day in spite of the weather. In fact, it's the best reason to be in class when the weather's not that great. If you go on our website, you'll see a 7-minute video of the 90-year history of the graduate school and milestones of the graduate school along the way. About a week ago, we celebrated, if you like, gala here, our 90 years as an institution, and we had sort of evolved out of USDA Graduate School, now Graduate School USA. But what we have not changed is who we serve, and that has really been daytime throughout this country, has been the federal workforce, and in some areas heavy with the state and local governments. But I just would like to welcome you today. We've got a number of our staff here to assist. In addition, I think the focus on HR, one of our strongest curriculum areas of the school, is particularly meaningful for you all of, as Jack said, the many challenges you have to deal with. Here at the school, I think we've got 3 real strong attributes that we bring to help you with. One is certainly an instructor base that come out of government and can really walk that language and talk about it. 2 has really been that content. That content is what, and it came out of OPM's and programs, and it came out of that competency-based operation. 3rd has been our ability to deliver that anywhere. We use largely 2 methods. One is where it's a classroom approach where individuals sign up and come here, and there's 50 classrooms in this complex that we use. In addition to that, we can take the course to you through a contract. And that's been very helpful when you see those travel dollars begin to slice down on you. Here in Washington, these 50 classrooms, you just step off of that metro and you're here. So we would invite you to take advantage of what we have here. In addition, as I said, we've got certain destination cities around the country that individuals come to. We also have a world-class studio that the instructor goes before that camera. We use a highly interactive with the participant and simulate as much as possible the actual live classroom approach. So I think distance education, where it takes on the key elements of a very good instructor, good content, relevant to the problems out there, those are the things that you're looking for when in an area of a challenge of reduction in those travel funds. So I would invite you to take a look at that when you deal with many of those things. The graduate school is also one of those that can pull and bring together things that is almost a customization of what you might need. Sometimes you need just a piece of this, 2 hours of this, something else, and we can create that individual anthology for you that really can match up with the most immediate needs that you face. But just wanted to indicate we're in the business to serve you. What we are today is not that we built it and they came. What happened is we actually built everything that we have around the need of what the customer and the student really wanted. So that's been what the graduate school has been. Just mention 2 other things. As we look down the future, one of the things that we did about 3 years ago was move towards accreditation. So if you look at all of our daytime and evening courseware that we have at the graduate school, we're accredited through the Council on Occupational Education. And I often said that with so many providers out there providing training, there needs to be a discrimination by an outside recognized source of training that is recognized through an accreditation system versus those that simply hang out a shingle and start offering training. So we have accreditation through that council. The other thing that we have started would be 2 associate degrees, and we are moving along a process for candidacy with middle states. So we're going to be that full service institution from degrees to professional development and training. We've just gotten approval to offer our associate degree in government accounting, both in class as well through distance education. So I think if I had to be where you are, I would certainly look at providers that have sort of an outside validation of what they do and the strength that goes into the excellence that they are hoping to provide to you as that training director. Again, welcome to the graduate school for the day, and I'll turn it back to Jack. Thanks.
Just a couple of housekeeping aspects. I hope that you've seen the water, tea, and coffee that we have over here, so please do help yourself. And to that end, we have restrooms if you're to go down right this way and you can have access when you need them. When you checked in this morning, did everybody check in a packet? Was there anyone who did not? In your packet, you should have been given a meal ticket that will get you to lunch here. And we do have lunch set up in the room that's right behind us. So as we get closer to that time, we'll guide you in with the idea that we would have a kind of a working lunch, at least a networking lunch. You can come back in here, sit with who you want, and chat and talk. So we will have that. That will start at about 12:15. We have a break scheduled for approximately 11:10, so you can plan toward that. In your handbook or in your folder, you have a survey. And the survey is similar to what we issued back in August when we had our last training seminar series event. It's very helpful for us to get your thoughts about what you would like to meet about, really, to come together and talk about. Serve as resources to your counterparts or to learn from your counterparts. So we would welcome if you would fill that out and leave that with us at the end of the day. And if you have comments about this session, please add those as well. We would appreciate it. For those who are tweeters, are there any tweeters in here? Anyone who kind of thinks or plans to maybe be doing something like that? Well, Jack, you have the information on how to do that. Anybody else here who may be doing it? I can get you that hash. Okay. If you're interested, approach me later, and I can make sure that you have that. Any other questions as far as housekeeping goes? Did I answer all the questions that you may need there? Excellent. We do plan on finishing at about 2 o'clock, and we have an optional tour of our facilities if you're interested, but I would be interested in getting a show of hands right now for anyone who might want to do that. Okay, so if you do, please let me know during the course of the day. Good morning. Welcome. You're just on time. So as far as the agenda goes, I think that we have a good day. As I mentioned in the last survey of your counterparts, individuals are very interested in speaking or hearing about HR issues and things that are coming about, particularly around budgets and the challenges of budgets. So 2 of the sessions today focus on that aspect. We're very lucky to have Kathryn Medina from OPM here to speak about the budget environment. And you can get some perspectives from OPM. We also have a case study on where distance education or distance learning has been used very successfully. And Jack Depard from the graduate school will be part of that, along with an individual from the National Park Service in the Northeast region. The third session, the one actually that will be in the middle, is around diversity issues in an executive order that you all know of, which was signed back in August. And we have a representative from federally employed women who were part of the council speaking to those issues. And I think we'll be lucky to hear from her certain perspectives on that. And I think we can all learn from it. So with further ado, I'd like to introduce Kathryn Medina. Kathryn was appointed the Executive Director of the Chief Human Capital Officers Council, CHICO, at OPM in 2009. She's advising and coordinating the activities of member agencies on such matters as the modernization of human resource systems, improved quality of human resources information, and legislation affecting human resources operations and organizations. Kathryn comes with a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, summa cum laude, along with a Master's of Education in Global Human Resource Development from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. In 2011, she was also honored with the CAUSE Award, which is an annual award recognizing the exceptional efforts of those distinguished individuals who work in the human capital management field, specifically in pay, benefits, human resources, and human capital issues in the federal government and in industry. So we're very thankful to Kathryn for making time available to join us today, and welcome you. It will be on as soon as you press this button, it will turn green.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Great. I'm not sure I really need this. I talk pretty loud, but that's all right. Get it cooked up. So how's everybody doing this morning? Is everybody's commute like mine this morning? Nice. Hi, how are you doing? Nice hour and a half. Yeah, that's always fun. My 4-year-old son asked me on the way here, Mommy, why is everything so slow today? I was like, you'll learn. Soon enough. Just wait. Live in D.C. for a while. You'll figure it out. I think I have a clicker here. No, that's sort of halfway through, so there should be a few to start with. I had the pleasure of meeting Marie and talking to her a little bit about the history of OPM and providing training for HR and sort of putting in perspective where we are today. It's so fascinating to look back at the mid-90s and what was done then and how things changed and how in some ways we've come full circle with HR University, and that's really what I'm here to talk about. How many of you have heard of HR University? Yay, that's always a good start. I was in San Antonio, Texas at the Alamo Federal Executive Board last week, about a week ago. And a room full of about 120 HR professionals, and probably 5 hands went up when I asked. Which wouldn't be surprising, except it was the second time in 6 months that I've been there. So I was a little concerned, and it's like, how many times do I have to come here and talk about this? So DC seems to be a little bit more aware of what we've done with HR University. So I probably don't have to go through too much of this in great detail, but I'll move through it pretty quickly, and at least I think I will. I probably just don't know how to use this thing. So this is what we're going to talk about, and it really does tie into budget restraints and how to make the most of your training dollars. I think when we started this project in the spring of 2010, that wasn't really our primary focus, but it's become so much more important over the last 12 months. So we really are excited that we're able to provide this service, this one-stop shop as it's developing to be, to the federal government and to HR professionals. And really it's taking a turn to not just being for HR professionals, and I'll talk a little bit more about the broader application that we hope that HR University fills. So, yeah. Okay, maybe no, I'm going backwards. A little technological challenge. Can you go to the next? Okay, can you go to the next slide, please?
Did I do it?
I think I pushed you back, and then I think you went forward. Okay, so I've got some Chicos on tape here talking about the importance of HRU, and I think it's really better for you to hear it from some of the members of the Chico Council, and I hope you all know what the Chico Council is. Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to click somewhere on this slide, and we'll kick off our.
University is important because it's really the first time, I believe, the federal government has taken a serious look at the needs of human resources practitioners across the government. And it is really critical in terms of really developing the next line of HR managers and HR experts in the federal government as our roles continue to change. We're moving from more of an operational to more of a strategic management and strategic thinking body. It's very critical that we have HRU so that we can identify the training, the competencies, and the skills that these professionals are going to need in the future. I think one of the most valuable things about the HRU is the fact that you have this variety of both training and education. And in fact, I just learned today that we're going to start introducing some college courses and all. I think that's phenomenal. Plus, we'll have a course that also has some nuts and bolts things that every HR person or every line manager needs to know. So it's that great combination of both the educational opportunities and the daily kinds of learning and training and development.
For me, HR University has not come too soon. We need it now more than ever. I think particularly for 2 reasons. Most of us in the HR community are aware that some of the core HR skills that some of us grew up with are slowly diminishing. We're finding fewer people who bring those skills, who grew up in HR, and have those skills. A lot of people are retired from that. So there's that. There's replenishing the core skill, the basics of HR. At the same time, what's happening is all kinds of activities that are causing us to think anew HR.
So what's really nice about HR University is the fact that it's tied to the HR competencies that we need for now and the future, and that they're working to build, again, a comprehensive curriculum so that you can really develop over the lifetime of your career in all of the different forms of HR that you need to be a well-rounded professional. And the extra advantage is that many of the courses that are offered online, or they're free, or both. It really has a lot of potential to help people for the long haul. Not just people who currently work with our workforce, but the people who would or because many of the things aren't accessible.
HR University is a critical to developing our HR workforce. Most importantly, it provides the requisite training and development that we must continue to have front and center. We can all learn, we all I learn, only people that are in using the rules.
So, how many of these Chicos are some of your colleagues? Or do you work? Okay. So you can tell them how great they look on video when you see them. I don't even know if they've seen this montage. We just developed it a couple weeks ago, but it's always good to bring the Chief Human Capital Officer's perspective directly to the audience. So you know a little bit about why we created HRU and what we're hoping to accomplish. So next slide. So these are some of the core basics of why we developed HRU and what we're hoping to do. How many of you have visited the site? And so, because I'm going to be doing a demo in a little while, I want to make sure that I'm not going too fast or too slow, but it seems like most of you have visited. So you know we have career maps, career guides, success factors, and developmental opportunities on there. And we were really fortunate to work very closely with OPM as they were developing some of these tools that we were able to blend right into HRU as we were focusing on providing the training and pulling the one-stop training, and they were doing these other activities. We brought them all together, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect. So this is where we are today, and you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We've got about 50 or so courses on HRU as of today, with more being added all the time, and several under review by OPM's policy folks. So we do have sort of a little bit of a backlog within OPM using our limited resources to make sure we're getting all the courses in and getting them approved and getting them on the site. But we're working that every single day. I mentioned training not just for HR. And one of the things I want to show you is the Manager's Corner. We have a working group within the Chico Council that's working on a performance accountability framework. Have some of you heard about that? It's a collaboration between the Chico Council and the Labor Management Council. And so the two of those councils came together and have been working continuously for about the last 6 months to develop what we hope is a model for the government on a new performance accountability framework. And a lot of the talk has been around training and development for supervisors and managers, and what types of training can we offer to enhance performance management in the agencies across the government. And so what we did in anticipation of some recommendations coming out government-wide about what kind of training and development is needed is we created this Manager's Corner literally just a few weeks ago, and we wanted to branch out of just strictly HR and create a home for non-HR supervisors and managers, and I'll show you that in a second. Next slide. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at HRU, because I'd like to get through the demo and then sort of get some feedback and talk a little bit about where we go next. There we go. So even if you visited the site recently, as recent as about 2 or 3 days ago, we added some new features and did a new push. The web developers knew that I had several presentations this week, and so they wanted to make sure we got some new things up there. So I want to talk a little bit about where an HR professional starts. I know most of you are sort of beyond this point, but to the extent that you can talk to your staff or you can advise others on how they can navigate HRU best. How many of you are familiar with the customized self-assessment on the HRU website? So I sort of describe this as the best way to navigate if you don't know where you're going on HRU. In other words, you have no idea about courses, you're not really sure how to navigate a career map. So this is a DoD product that they helped us develop, that they had already developed for themselves. And the background of HRU is that it was probably about 12 agencies bringing their best products and best talent to HRU in different components. So I'll try to give credit where credit's due as we're going through this. But the customized self-assessment, which is linked right to the homepage, is 20 or so questions that vary from technical questions about do you know how to classify positions, to benefits questions, and then also general competency questions to gauge your strategic knowledge. So it really is a more dynamic type of self-assessment, but it really is used to determine a role and the roles that we develop through HRU. So if you wouldn't mind trying to navigate to the My Career along the top, since we're not going to take the self-assessment here, but it's kind of a fun thing to do if you have some time. And you go to HR Professional Roles, which is that first link, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom. You can learn all about the roles on this page, but I want to show you specifically where the self-assessment brings you to. And that is right there, exactly where you are. Click that framework. And when you finish the self-assessment, it literally lands you on this matrix up here. And so it'll tell you, based on the questions you answered, very unscientific, but just sort of the general gauge of your competencies, where you are on this matrix. From there, it just helps you weed through all of the information on HRU because there's a lot of information. And as you can see, it puts it into a nice color coding. So you can find yourself on the color coding as far as whether you're a novice, and that's not the technical word for it, apprentice, practitioner, or expert, and then whether you're on the technical side, the advisor side, or the strategic side, and where you fit in. From there, if we could go back to the home page, and along the very top, let's go ahead and go straight to the course catalog and scroll down. You'll see where we have the key and we have the roles designated for each course. So you can quickly see if you were looking specifically based on your self-assessment for more blue courses, or you were looking to move from the blue area to the orange area, you could sort. These hyperlinks at the top will let you sort the categories. It'll let you sort by role, it'll let you sort by course, and what's really important is it'll let you sort by cost. So we have a lot of free courses on here, so those are available to you at any time immediately, particularly the online courses, which are at your fingertips, and most of them will launch directly from HRU. But even if they don't, in their classroom courses, if they're free, it'll give you a point of contact. You can contact that person and they'll tell you when the next course is being held and whether they have seats. And one example I want to show you, let's scroll back up to the courses, and there's a basic classification that's free. A couple right there. So every time you click on a course, it's going to take you to this information page. The information page will have everything you need to know to either launch the course or to find the point of contact to get yourself registered or to take it through the third party. This course in particular is a great example of sharing resources and how we're going to make more out of what little we have. And the reason why this is a great example is because this is a DoD course on basic classification. Okay, so it's a course that DoD created, developed, paid for, and offers to their own employees. They gave it to HRU and basically said, when we have seats that are empty, anybody can come and take this class for free. So that is really at the heart of HR University. It's one of the primary things we hope to accomplish, and we're really excited, particularly in this time of budget constraints, that is a resource for every single agency of the federal government. And we hope to find that more and more agencies, such as DoD, step up and start to offer their courses that are government-owned. So that's a great example. If we go back to the course catalog, a couple other things I want to show you. Again, you'll see the cost assessed on the left-hand side. A lot of these courses are developed and owned by OPM, so I think it's only natural, particularly the online courses, that we've housed on HRU and that you can access them directly here. So if you were, and we don't need to do this now, but if you were to go to, I think one that I've taken is one of the Schedule A trainings that I took. It's a bite-sized training. I don't know if any of you have ever tried that, but it's a cute little, it's like you can sit at your desktop and go through it within like 20, 30 minutes, like literally while you're eating your lunch. So I don't know if that's why they call it bite-sized. Or I thought it was just because it was small training pieces at a time, but I don't know, cute little play on words. You sit there and do it during your lunch hour. But I've taken a couple of those that are offered by OPM. And I think the benefit of this is, again, getting to the concept of one-stop shop. You could probably find it on OPM's website, but in the time it takes you to try to search and navigate, and by the way, OPM's website is under redesign for those of you that have issue with finding things on it. You're not alone. That's a little aside. But what we're trying to do is try to put this in one central location. So the more you use HRU, the more familiar you are with how to get to the information you need very quickly, because the site is laid out very, very easy to navigate. Let's go back to the main page. I want to show you the search feature, because this is a feature that just went live 2 days ago. It's here on the main page, but it was also on the course catalog page. It's in a couple of different places, and it works really very nicely. And like I said, this is brand new. What I said to the web developers is 50 courses, as you can see, you can still scroll down pretty easily. It's not too burdensome. But we really hope to add a lot more courses. And then it's going to really call for a redesign of the course catalog page, so it's sortable, and you can do searches on it. So the quick fix to that is the search feature, and it's really great. I've used it. I've typed in benefits. I've typed in classification. And it really does a great job, if you're on the course catalog page, of bringing up the specific courses. So it'll condense the 50 down to 4 or down to 3. If you do the search from another page, it'll literally give you everything. It'll, like a Google search, it'll give you everything on the whole website. So there's two different ways to use that, and it's really working out well. So, yeah, so that's sort of the Google thing, and it'll tell you if it's course or not. But if you're on the course catalog page, it literally just brings you the coursework that you're looking for. So, the Manager's Corner. I alluded to this. Again, we built it out up at the top there as its own little space. So if you're a non-HR person and you're looking for performance management, or you're looking for basic communication, or some of the mandatory training that's non-HR, that's government mandatory training, we wanted to have a nice place for you to start on the homepage where you weren't overwhelmed by all the other HR stuff. So we built the Manager's Corner, and it's still a work in progress, but as you can see, as he just went through there, we took some of the courses that were more general, and we pulled them out of the main course catalog, and we put them into this Manager's Corner. And we do hope that that's a feature that continues to be built upon as we work on that performance accountability framework. The other thing is that the Chicos are also working on another group, which is assessing skill gaps in the government. And our goal with that, we just kicked it off a couple of months ago, and that is being led by Pat Tamarino, Chico for the Department of Defense, is to assess the critical skill gaps across the government, and to eventually, within I think a very aggressive time frame of about 18 months, to remove human capital from the GAO high-risk list. So that is a very ambitious working group, and how it relates to HRU is also as HR is a critical occupation and those are critical skills. How do we use HRU to beef up our training and development? So we're really trying to tie in all the things the Chicos are doing and all the things going on within human capital, federal human capital, and use this as a resource. So speaking of resource, let's take one look at the Resource Center, because I think the training as far as classroom, blended learning, online, I think that's pretty straightforward, and we're making good progress with that. Graduate School will tell you that they've got several courses in the works being reviewed by OPM to give you sort of the time snapshot of where we are. We opened up phase 2 of HRU, which was asking vendors to provide training to be vetted by OPM, and we're really trying to work through that phase right now. So up to the beginning of the summer, we had only government courses on HRU. We are now, you will now start to see more vendor-offered courses. And to Dr. Ice's comment about how do you distinguish between courses that, some vendor who just thought, well, I'm going to teach classification, and I think I know how to do it, and just sort of goes out there and markets a classification course without really aligning itself with OPM's competencies. What you'll see on OPM, what you'll see on HRU is courses that have been vetted and approved by OPM. So we really are sort of going back to the older days, as Marie would describe it, when OPM provided that HR training. But we're doing it, I think, in a really smart way that says training comes in a lot of different forms and from a lot of different vendors, but what they all need to have is that consistency and that level of meeting OPM's competencies. And as long as they're doing that, we will acknowledge those courses and we will allow them to post their courses on HR University. So we're hoping to see a lot more vendor courses. And I'm really excited to announce that just as of last week, we did get the first college accredited courses approved through the Catholic University, and those 4 courses should be up on HRU very, very soon. And we're hoping that that trend continues with other college accredited courses. That was really important to Mr. Barry, who really wanted to make HRU a very dynamic, well-rounded portal of knowledge, education-wise. And that also goes back to what Dr. Ice was saying. So all kinds of training in all different formats. And that brings us to the Resource Center. The Resource Center, when we first created HRU about a year ago, I remember I was sitting around a table saying, well, what if it's not really training? What if it doesn't have sort of the levels of evaluation that a training course needs to have? What if it's not accredited? What if it's whatever? And we thought, well, let's just dump it in the Resource Center. Just put all the stuff in there and make that a catch-all category. And so that's really how it started out. And so we have different types of resources. We have everything from rules and regulations, references, legislative information, all that good stuff that, yes, again, you could probably find on the OPM site. We happen to think this is a little bit easier to navigate because it is more of a straightforward navigation right off the home page. So you'll see any of the bars that you choose on the left-hand side. So if you go down to rules and regulations, you'll see CFR, Title V, that sort of thing. Just another resource for you. Again, if we're making it a one-stop shop, we really have to think beyond just training and development. But the exciting thing I want to sort of end with on the demo is the upcoming events section of this and a couple of things with that. How many of you are familiar with the Partnership for Public Service? Probably most of you, okay. So we've been working with them, and what you'll see on there, the only thing we have as far as an upcoming event at this time is their Emerging HR Leaders Forum. And I don't know how many of you have heard of that, but it's basically a cohort they've developed for emerging HR leaders. I believe they're nominated by their agency to join this cohort. And it runs, I'm not sure how frequently it runs, but I'm sure if you click that button, it'll tell you all about it. Okay, so again, you've got the information page and an active community of high potential HR employees in the early stages of their careers. From the GS 9 to 14 levels, here are the benefits. Here's the duration. It's a 2-hour meeting once per month. It's a 12-month program. It's sponsored by the Partnership for Public Service. The cost is $3,000 per participant, and there's your point of contact. This is one type of developmental opportunity that we're really excited to offer through our resource center. And this is the kind of thing that we like to look for and acknowledge is being done out there in the community. It's not always the federal government that has these opportunities, but some of our partners, and we're really excited to be able to put this on HRU to inform agencies and to tell them about these types of opportunities that are available. So we're really happy to do that with the partnership. In addition, the emerging HR leaders from the last cohort actually came up with an individual development plan template, and it was part of this program in their project that they worked on last year. And they demoed it to what they call the Partnership for Public Service Collaborative, and they demoed it for some of us at OPM. And what we're looking forward to doing is taking that IDP that they developed, and I think that was particularly for the recruiting specialty area, and being able to house it under our resource center. It's a really neat little tool. It's very straightforward. It's very intuitive. It's got a lot of drop-down boxes that help a manager, an HR manager, sort of navigate through an IDP with their employee. And these are just some of the exciting things that are being done out there that we would just like to bring into one central location. So we hope to have that IDP template up in our resource center very soon. We're working on that. The other thing that you'll find if you keep in touch with our resource center, I don't know how many of you heard of our Flash Mentoring session. How many of you know what Flash Mentoring is? Some of you? How many of you know what speed dating is? Okay. So there's an article in the, I think, Fed News Radio this morning, because I gave this presentation yesterday, and so they were jokingly saying the Chico Council is taking a page from speed dating. So if you see that, this is what it's all about. So the concept of speed dating we've transferred to a mentoring opportunity, and we piloted this a couple of months ago, and we had HR leaders, SCS Chicos, we had the director of OPM, myself. There were probably about 12 of us as mentors, and I think there were 80 or so mentees from across the government. And we put this up as an event under our resource center. Within 48 hours, we were at capacity and we were on a waiting list. And we, on the day of the event, it was much like today, nice and dreary and rainy. And we still had every seat filled, and a couple of people we tried to squeeze in. So it was really a successful event. OPM had done it within that agency, and the two leaders from the HRU work group, Don Phillips from Department of Treasury and Stephanie Diamond from NASA, were really the two leaders that came together and said, we'd love to do this as a part of HRU's developmental offerings. So they created the structure. They came up with a theme, which was, I think, becoming an HR strategic partner. They crafted a few basic guiding questions for the mentors just to kick off conversation. And we had a room very much like this, except with rounds that held probably about 8 to 10 people per table. And we had 20-minute mentoring sessions where anybody could ask anything of the mentor, and they gave a nice, candid, honest response that, no tape recorders, no press, just people talking and getting that one-on-one or 8-on-1 or whatever it was. But it was really effective, and the results were phenomenal. We got a lot of great feedback, and I got a couple of personal emails telling us what a great opportunity it was and how they'd love to see more of that. So what we decided to do within the Chico Council, we have sort of a structure where we have bi-monthly academy sessions where we do training and development. We thought, let's do this flash mentoring on a quarterly basis so that 4 times a year we can open this up, at least in the DC area, and we can put this out. If it sells out 80 seats in 48 hours, there definitely is a demand there. We want to be able to take a good idea, something that we know was successful, and replicate that at very low cost. Really, the cost is the time that the mentors and mentees spend. And I can tell you, out of 12 or so leaders, including the director and myself, any of us would jump at the chance to do it again. And the feedback from the mentees was equally as positive. So you can look for that as a feature beginning 2012. we'll start setting some dates up, and it'll go on our resource center as an upcoming event, and people will be able to sign up for that. So we're really excited about adding that as a feature as well. So I'm sure I've missed some really great aspect of the HRU, but you seem to be pretty familiar with the site, so I'll leave it to you to go back and look at what's exciting on there. If we go back to the slideshow, just a couple of final points I want to make, and then we can open it up for discussion. So it's the what are people saying? I think it's slide 10 is where we pick off, and this is just bragging, really. Sorry. You'll see. There you go. The first one. Almost there we go. I had a chance to. Where was it? The second one is about our flash mentoring session. I'll be telling all my colleagues about HRU. So that was September 7th. We held that first session. And then, just to give you a perspective of the reach of HRU just in its infancy. I mean, we've only been launched since January, and a lot of these comments came in the first 4 months, as far as DoD Europe and Atlanta, Michigan, DoD Army in Jackson, Mississippi. So we are being, we are sort of on the map now, and we're getting our name out there. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the college level courses. We're really excited about that. We're really excited about our partnership with the graduate school and all the wonderful course offerings they have that we will be seeing very, very soon on HR University. I mentioned the flash mentoring programs, and we continue to expand our course catalog. We're continuing to work with the agencies. We don't have all the agency courses up here we'd like. As a matter of fact, they're going to probably get a little nudge from the director pretty soon. I know it's a lot of work to look through your course catalog and try to identify matching up our criteria with your courses, but we're working very closely at the moment with DHS and ODNI, who have a very nice resource of HR courses and training that we hope to have put up on HRU very soon. So we're continuing to work internally with the government, we're continuing to work with vendors, and now we've gone on to our college accredited courses. Next slide. So there's always something that can be done better, and what we'd love to do is we'd like to come out and talk to people about it. This is probably the third presentation I've done in a week. And we definitely need to get the word out. I think I was looking at the statistics of registered users, which you have to be a registered user if you want to actually access a course, but you can visit the site and many of the resources without being a registered user. But it's great to be a registered user because it gives us on the backside a glimpse of how many people, aside from just our site visits, are really using HRU. And we have a lot of that back-end data. I know a lot of the Chicos are becoming more interested in, who in their group is registered and who's taking what courses. We're working very hard to continue to build that relationship between the back end of HRU and individual agencies' LMSs. We haven't quite made that seamless transition yet. Some agencies are farther along than others, but you always get a pop-up message when you're taking a course incidentally that you should always go through. If you find a course on HRU, that's wonderful. You know that it's been approved and vetted by OPM. But if it's also in your LMS, you should take it through your LMS just for simplicity's sake and to make sure your training's recorded. So that's just a little aside. But we tell you all that when you access the courses, and we tell you to go talk to your HR, your team, and make sure you're getting your training recorded. But we need the word to be spread. We need more people to register. We went from about 1,000 users in the early spring, and I think we're approaching 7,000 right now. We've done a lot of work over the summer. I've been to a few different FEBs, and I'll continue to get out there and get the word out. And an opportunity such as this, we're really grateful for, to make sure people know what resources are available to them. So on the promoting and even on the mentoring, the flash mentoring, if you think that's something that you want to do internally with your agency and you'd like some help with that, we're happy to help you do that. it's not just about what you can find on this website. It's about how can we actually promote professional development across the agencies. So if you just want somebody to talk to, the two ladies I mentioned before that kicked off our Flash Mentoring are really eager to help any agency get a Flash Mentoring event done in their own agency. So that's another resource for you. Mostly your feedback and your input. I liken sort of being at the 10-month stage to, again, having a child at 10 months. They're just starting to develop personality and getting to see their habits. And so HRU is really just getting going, and 50 courses is only the beginning. If you talk to somebody who was around OPM, in the mid-90s, and you see this evolution from OPM providing all of HR training to no HR training, and graduate school picking up the pieces, and then us sort of coming back to where we do have it in one central location. We're taking the best from everywhere and putting it in one place. It really is neat to see, but to make it what you want it to be and to make sure we're meeting your needs, we really need your feedback and your suggestions. So if you'll go to the next slide, I think that's our final slide. It's how to get a hold of us and how to ask any questions. There's always the feedback and the technical support you can get on the website, but we do have our own mailbox that is monitored by my staff. We don't have any FTEs running HR University, not a single one, which is pretty phenomenal. The Chico Council owns HR University, and it is managed by, at the leadership level, myself and two others, Department of Energy, Deputy Chico. And within OPM are Julie Brill, who's in our executive resources, and handles all the curriculum side, make sure the courses get vetted. And I basically do the oversight. And I have a couple of my Chico staff who rotate duties. But we seem to make it work because everybody's focused on it, everybody's dedicated to this, and we all want it to be successful. So we want to hear from you, and we can start with any questions you have right now. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. You mentioned there were two contacts for Flash Mentoring if an agency was interested in having a Flash Mentoring program. What were their names again?
So I don't have their emails at the top of my head, but Dawn Phillips at the Department of Treasury. She works in the office of the Chico. And the other is Stephanie Diamond, who's, I believe, the Human Capital Strategist at NASA. And if you need their contact information and you want to shoot an email to the HRU email, we'll be happy to send that right to you.
Wonderful. And my second question, the courses that are listed on HRU, are those only online, or are they instructor-led or blended?
They're blended.
Okay.
They're blended. So the beauty of HRU is, to date, and we have plans for the future, but to date, HRU hasn't created coursework. We're bringing it in from other sources. So by nature, by virtue of that, it's whatever is out there in whatever format. So as I mentioned, a lot of OPM's courses are bite-sized and they're online and they're free. So those you can launch straight from HRU because we plug them into HRU. The DoD classroom one I mentioned, and I think DOJ actually has online. DoD has several classrooms, and so does OPM. And those will give you the point of contact, and you just contact them, and they'll tell you how to register.
I have a question. It's interesting that you said that there's no federal training people working with HRU. I thought, as you're talking about developing people, there's an excellent opportunity for an HR training leader to have an opportunity to be detailed to work on that. And I would recommend.
It's great. And that's a great idea. And actually,
to get their hands on it.
yeah, and I shouldn't say, I say no FTEs, but by FTE I mean on my full-time staff. I have had two amazing detailees. One just left me, and she was working 100% on HRU. She just returned to the Department of Education. And one who just started with me 2 weeks ago and overlapped with her from USDA. So I am very fortunate to have 14-level full-time details that I can put on this among some of the other Chico activities. But yes, we do have people working on it, and through the Chico Council, I'm always open to, because I think working on the council itself, this is one project we do several other projects, and from a human capital perspective, everything we do, getting that bird's eye view of, entire federal government is amazing. So I'm always looking for people. If I have the space, then I'm more than willing to take on details, and I do that.
You've made a tremendous amount of progress in the last year or so, Kathryn. At an early briefing on HR University, the speaker mentioned, and I don't think it was you back then, but the speaker mentioned that HR accreditation was eventually going to be a part of the university.
It probably was.
Is that still true? And if so, can you tell us anything about the plans for HR certification?
So if you were following this from back a year ago, I am on the record several times as saying the three phases are government-owned, sharing of coursework, vendor-provided courses, and the third is HR certification. And the reason I don't mention it anymore is because, as we suspected, that third phase is much more of a challenge than standing up a website. And I'll tell you in a very concise way, hopefully, we had a Chico Council Fall Forum in October, and one of the breakout groups was just focused on talking about where we go with certification. And I was in that group because obviously I'm very interested in knowing what the council wants to do about that. And interestingly, the conversation went from how do we approach certification and do we go forward with HR certification for the federal government to there are a lot of different opposing views, and what are we really hoping to accomplish? What's really the ultimate goal of certification? And if you take a step back and you think, well, it's actually, we're trying to elevate the profession, right? We're trying to make sure that we have standards, that we are acknowledging continuing learning, that we're recognizing levels of expertise and levels of competency. And the conversation went to, okay, so certification is one way to do that. It's not the only way. And I would argue that creating the HR University is a huge step in that direction, and certification is sort of a nice icing on the cake. We talked probably more about positive education requirement as a broader topic than about the certification piece. And I think the consensus is, do we have more support across the federal government in the HR community that there should be a positive education requirement, and can we start narrowing it down from that big theoretical question down to what it would look like, as opposed to saying, if it's certification, what a certification looks like. Certification just brings about a lot of opposing views, and it seems to just be a continuous cycle of conversations about how to do it, and recertification, and is it curriculum-based, is it knowledge-based, is it competency-based? So if you're really trying to say what we're trying to accomplish within the council, within the community, is professionalizing HR, and you look at acquisition officers, you look at IT specialists, and how did they evolve into requiring positive education? I think that is sort of the next logical step. So internally within OPM, we're trying to bring some key people together and talk about what does a positive education requirement look like for the 201 series, maybe the other. So quick show of hands, and I've done this in a couple of places, and I always get the same result, but I still have to try it here, right? How many of you think that a positive education requirement, whether you think it's an HR master's, an HR bachelor's, or liberal arts bachelor's or associate's degree, is the right direction to go in for the HR profession, for the federal HR profession? How many of you think that's generally, you might have your preference on how to do it, but that's generally the next step we need to go in? Most people. And that's really, that's where you start to build consensus. And I think if you characterize it as it has to be certification, that conversation just goes on and on. I think if you start with the broader, are we all behind some sort of positive education, then you can start getting at what does it look like. And that's where we are.
First of all, let me say, certification is not that big a deal. Most people who are certified, they're certified by a body of people. People get together, they form an association, they get a lot of members, and on behalf of all these members, they say, you're certified. Universities can also certify. So I think certification is a good deal. Let me tell you, I got a lot of degrees. You know that. I got one in HR too. And HR degrees from college have nothing to do with what we do in the federal government. So to say that because I have a master's degree in HR, la-di-da, how do you staff a position in the federal government? So on that note, I think certification is the way to go, but I think that you must be talking to the wrong group of people. The certification, we need to bring it down to earth. When you start adding positive education requirements, that means money that people need to spend, right? And let me tell you something. The best HR people I've seen don't even have an associate's degree, right? But they're the best I've seen. So the thing is, we need to make it easy. If we are an equal opportunity employer, then make this real for people. Make it so someone off the street can come on in and get a reasonably priced education. Take a test. But that's what certification, the good certification is all about. I took the Cornell diversity certification piece, right? And if you ain't taking a test, then you don't know anything. But if you can do this coursework, take a test, then OPM itself can say you are a certified federal. So don't run away from the challenge. Jump on in there because where there's a will, there's a way. And get your group together. Bottom line is, we got to do this. Consensus is one thing, but come on now. We have to do this for our community. I'm just not talking. I'm back to us.
Certification also follows continuous. It's not enough just to certify. You can't be certified. Positive education, that doesn't equate. So I would, even though it might be off the table now.
And I wouldn't say it's off the table. To clarify, what I think what we left with was to continue the discussion down both tracks, because there are a lot of interested parties outside the federal government who are very interested in how this progresses as far as the certification discussion. And what I told them is to get to a certification program is not impossible, and I think most people are supportive of it. It's going to take time and effort. And I think to the point about OPM doing it, I can tell you OPM at this point can barely review these courses. There's a backlog here, and we're not getting, if you looked at our budget, OPM is in no position this year or the next to take on certifying the whole federal government. So it's the same conversation we're having here is really just to my point, which is you'll have one person who passionately says it has to be certification, and then another group that says, yes, but certification looks like this, certification looks like that, and grandfathering people or not grandfathering people. So it's important, and I'm certified, and my personal opinion is I think the way I was certified is the way to go, but I come from the private sector. And I can tell you there are other people who would disagree with that.
Well, the thing is, I got the vibe from you from the beginning. Oh, we're poor, we don't have any money. Let me tell you, you need to get a course on how to get some money.
I know, I do.
Second, you got to get creative. Mm-hmm. We all need a qualified professional HR community, right? Yes. I bet you every agency can take in a little bit of money. You can have all the money that you need to do everything you want. It's a matter of creativity and how willing you are to explore, the unexplored. But there is plenty of money for what people think is important.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Human resources are important. Somebody tolerate, don't tolerate. You can't change what you continue to tolerate. Both of us came from very, humble roots, right? But I'm telling you, you can't change what you continue to tolerate. Get a committee together about money, and I'll come to that talk too.
I would also talk to the customer.
Come on.
They're going to have to certify HR professional services or not.
But when you're talking to the customer and asking them if they would rather have it certified, then you have to be able to explain what you mean by certified. Because just like this gentleman said here, we all hear certification like almost daily about almost anything under the sun. And in some cases it means you have a piece of paper and it may not really mean anything. In some cases, it really holds a lot of weight. So, you have to be able to explain to the customer that OPM certified it. You've got a bunch of professionals over there. It was our requirements that they met. It was our test that they met. So, yeah, they're government certified. Yeah.
So what agency are you with?
Well, I'm with the Department of Energy now.
Okay.
No longer with diversity, now I'm back at Human Capital Watch.
So do you know Rita? Rita Franklin?
very
Okay.
closely.
So I'm going to have you join our group because we need your energy.
No,
We
there's
really
folks
do.
here, you got it. Come on, raise your hand. You got it.
Anybody who wants to join our group is, no, we need to continue to work on it. You're definitely right. We need to.
Couple things. First of all, I want to be on your group because I was hired by OPM in 2000 to run a project to professionalize the HR occupation based on the 3 studies about the HR survey. And we created a mini portal, and I created a draft career development guide for HR specialists, as well as a 2-year model training program for HR specialists at the entry level 5 to 7. They sat on OPM's desk for a year and were never published. And so this is dear to my heart since I was there doing this. Like your HR University now, it's like, old stuff to me. But one of the other things I think that kind of would get to where they're going about, one of the things that I think OPM can do, which may not cost, having all this money and stuff that other things are doing, I think one of the things that we as HR professionals really appreciated about OPM in the past is that they had conferences where we could get together as communities of practice, where we could talk to each other and hear how people were doing stuff. OPM hasn't had an HR professional conference since I think their HRD conference in 1994 in Baltimore. We need to have the opportunity as a community of practice. If we don't think what we do is professional enough for us to get together to talk about it, then we all kind of wander off in our own spaces. And as we hear, the few of us who are here, these wonderful things being done, think of all the wonderful things that all of us could learn about if we had a chance to get together in a forum that was OPM sponsored, that would say, okay, HR professionals, we want to help you move toward that professionalism, and here's the step we're going to take. Let's get together and talk about what it is that are concerned, who's got what, and I think every single agency would send somebody to something where we knew that we were really going to have serious conversations among the practitioners about what it is that we need to do to help ourselves get better. So I hope you bring my answer.
That's a really good point. And I am serious, like, if you guys have cards, or I'll give you my cards, because we are trying to refocus this HRD working group, and we have actually asked the agencies to send us sort of some people with fresh perspective now that we've got it launched, and where do we go from here? So, you guys can come on board.
Look, I just want to say, but OPM does get people together. Tomorrow, there's a federal interagency diversity group. Veronica Villalobos is going to roll out the OPM's strategic plan for diversity. That's commendable. So OPM is bringing folks together. Because I'm going, I hope you go. It's at the Hubert Humphrey building. I think it's tomorrow morning around 9. And it's free. So, good job. I think you're awesome.
Yeah.
You are the cutting edge. I love you. Cutting edge.
So Kathryn, here are all your resources.
Absolutely.
Looking to tap into.
And you can reach me directly at that HR University. There literally is one person answering who's working directly with me, and she'll literally come and say, hey, I just got an email for you. She'll forward it to me. So if I don't get a chance to give you my card, I'll leave some for that. But definitely feel free to reach out, and let's continue this conversation. It's really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Kathryn, Kathryn, graduate school, staff, appreciation for you coming over and sharing your information and everything that's going on at the university.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.